My name is Sir Remington Fowkes, and I would love to tell a story on behalf of Studio Rachel Post. At the end of the 19th century, a woman called Rubia lived in a small house outside Malaga in Spain. She was a bit peculiar and had been collecting dolls all her life. As she approached middle age, she became increasingly isolated, and her relatives began to worry. Her house had started to fall into disrepair, and she seemed to only care about her dolls, which she now started talking to. Everything went so far that she was committed to a mental hospital. During the time she was locked up, her house was abandoned, and on several different occasions the police were called to the house when people were found who had died in or right next to it. At first sight, one could think that it was someone who had suffered a cardiac arrest or other sudden illness, as there were no signs of violence on the bodies. The investigations could not determine either the cause of death or traces of the perpetrator. Everything looked like burglars who somehow met their death in the house. It became a mystery, and when the number of dead bodies began to approach about 10, and also a couple of young boys died in the house, it was decided to burn the house down together with all the dolls that were still in it. On the day it was supposed to happen, the police arrived, and a lot of spectators who wanted to see the house that was now called Rubia's House of Horrors burned to the ground. Just as they were about to light the fire to the screams and cheers of the spectators, everything suddenly went completely silent. The crowd parted, and like a ghost from the past, Rubia came walking slowly towards the house. She had been discharged from the mental hospital after the manager suddenly made the assessment that she was completely healthy. This, after he received a package in the mail, a package containing a doll. The police had to cancel and instead escort the people away, as Rubia still owned the house and was not suspected of any crime. After her return, all deaths stopped, and the only person who subsequently died in the house was Rubia herself, who passed away among her dolls at the age of 97. The house was then in such poor condition that it practically collapsed on its own shortly after Rubia's passing. Her family had her buried with some of her dolls, but the strange thing was that only a few were left in the house, even though they had seen hundreds of them there. It almost looked like they stood up and walked away themselves when Rubia died. In a quaint little shop, tucked away in the old town of Malaga, a doll arrived one day. She was a thing of beauty, with porcelain skin, rosy cheeks, and eyes as blue as the summer sky. But dear listeners, don't let her innocent appearance fool you, for beneath that cherubic face, something sinister lurked. Now, the shopkeeper, a man of advanced years with a keen eye for antiques, took an immediate liking to the doll. He placed her on a shelf, right in the heart of the shop, where her beguiling beauty could draw in many a passer-by. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and the doll remained, watching and waiting. But the townsfolk began to notice strange happenings, whispers of ghostly apparitions, of objects moving of their own accord, and an eerie chill that turned the warmest day into a winter's night. One by one, the townsfolk began to connect the events with the arrival of the doll. Fear gripped the hearts of the good people of the old town. Yet the shopkeeper refused to believe the doll was anything other than a charming trinket. He did not even notice that the doll started to look older, dirty. Her eyes had turned from blue to milky white, and she now looked kind of evil. One fateful night, the shopkeeper was found dead on the floor, and the doll was missing, just like it just walked away. From that day forth, the doll was no longer a charming trinket, but a symbol of fear, a relic of the unknown. And so, the tale of the doll continues, a chilling reminder of the thin line between the ordinary and the extraordinary, the known and the unknown. An innocent doll, a quaint shop, and a town forever changed. This is the tale from the old town, a tale that warns us, dear listeners, that things are not always as they seem. Now, as our tale draws to a close, remember, dear listeners, the next time you find yourself drawn to a charming trinket, remember the doll from Malaga and ask yourself, is it just a doll? Or is there a story waiting to unfold? A few dolls believed to have been part of Rubia's collection have turned up among collectors, and also to Studio Rachel Post. Some of the dolls is now in Studio Rachel Post's Odd Collection and can be viewed by those who dare. Until our next tale, dear listeners, tread lightly and remember the world is full of stories and not all of them have happy endings.